For centuries, the galaxy has been shaken by an endless war. A brutal conquest led by a bloodthirsty general. He's called the Master. His armies of soulless, replaceable creatures crush and invade planets in an instant. Then the Master arrives and selects a handful of survivors. The strongest, the bravest, the smartest. The rest must choose between obedience or death. The prisoners of the Master are scattered in astral prisons, museums to the glory of this vicious war. 12 supernatural and overpowered beings guard these astral prisons from which no one can escape. The Zodiacs. To carry out my mission, I found a way to infiltrate the garden, the central prison. A trip without a way out. My mission? Eliminate the Master. I'm in the garden, the central prison. According to my intel, there should be a prisoner outpost nearby. Let's find it. This place is even bigger than I anticipated. The Master. He's hiding somewhere behind these worlds. The fate of the galaxy is in my hands.
See? I was right. I knew someone was breaking in.
Excuse me. Who are you?
My name is Ayla, and I'm here to deal with the Master of these prisons.
Girl, I don't know if you're bold or reckless.
What she means is, you're in the right place. Come with us.
Thank you. No matter how determined I am, I'm going to need allies in this mission.
What's up, people? One Nut Punch here. Astral Ascent came out yesterday out of early access into 1.0, 11/14/2023, and they added some new Zodiac members to their whole arsenal of 12 Zodiacs that you have to fight in the actual game. They released Cancer, Aries, and Gemini, as well as 2 new Star Guardians, Monoceros and Sculptor, which is annoying as hell, because Sculptor will keep constantly attacking you, as well as the final boss, which is called the Master. They also added a bunch of new things from mid-run saves and some things beyond level 8, a new stats window, itinerant peddlers, and they also messed around with some of the other new prices for the skills, the different auras that you can find later, and some other things. But essentially what I want to talk about with this is that they released it out of early access into 1.0, and I mean, they were talking about this for about like 4 or 5 years, and now all 12 Zodiacs should be out, as well as Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, Sagittarius, Leo. I think there's Pisces and Scorpio, because you have the different areas. You have the Badlands or the Barrens, then you have the Archipelago, and some other places. But they still have those from the previous updates. It's just they added more stuff later. Like I know they added a telescope, which is something that deals with the constellations. And I think that also increases your mod power or your signature skills. Because depending upon the character you play, they'll have this specific type of spells. It'll be for their own character. Though I wouldn't have to worry about that until later on, because the more you play the game, the more stuff unlocks. For example, when you go back to the hub and you talk to Seer Babby, Barbecue, Zim Zim, Icky, or whoever else it is, they'll give you unlocks with your skills, spells, new auras to unlock, as well as modifiers and whatever else you could buy with the Sun Shards, because those are the things that are needed after every single run to be able to upgrade and buy new stuff from the people, or prisoners rather, inside the Astral Prison that you're currently in. They also changed up some of the animations when it came down to the Zodiacs. For example, you see here Taurus. He has his intro still, which really hasn't changed very much. but he will say different things depending upon the character, whether it be Kiran, Ayla, Octave, or Calie, which are the 4 main characters in the game that become prisoners in the Astral Prison. The first one is Ayla that you start off with, and then after that, Kiran is next. Then the more time spent into the game, you'll get the other 2 later on. Depends upon how many runs there are and how far you go. But essentially, you have your conversations, depending upon whatever characters you are, with the bosses, and then you get into a fight. Taurus is basically the first guy that you ever fight. Then there's the other 2, which is Virgo and Capricorn, and that's for the first level. There's always 3 Zodiacs that are picked at random, and you fight one of them until you move to the next level. Then after that, it's the Barons, which has the other 3 different types of Zodiacs, which is Leo, Sagittarius, and I think the last one, which was Aries. And Aries is actually the new person, which is the 3 Zodiacs that was released with 1.0 that came out. And it's kind of weird because she has, like, these fist claw things, but her moves are, like, unknown to me and almost, like, broken, because there was one attack to where she follows you around, and then she teleports, only to then go up behind you, punches you to the ground really hard, and does, like, massive damage. So watch out when fighting Aries. But in terms of what they did to the rest of the game, they still have the auras when it comes down to the moon and the sun. They still have the hub world for the different unlocks with, again, what I was talking about earlier with Barbecue and Zim Zim, getting the sun pieces and unlocking, like, higher damage, more mana, increased aura, getting higher tier aura, which they do have, and then being able to get the gambits for your skills, which gambits are, like, think of, like, passive skills in the active skills you use. So if you could do 40% slime or get frost damage, being able to jump 3 times instead of twice. Essentially, they're passive abilities inside your actives that will go off depending upon a percentage chance or if they activate whenever you do a specific thing. But that's mostly what they do. Then they have some of the side areas like Cetus, the whale turtle thing that does a lot of the different gambits and unlocks some different slots. You have Andromeda's bar still that heals you and gives you stat upgrades, whether it be strength, speed, armor, mana, critical chance, and some other things. And then, of course, you have the Void Rooms, which has these enemies you have to fight. Sculptor, Monoceros, Lupus, and Pegasus are the 4 that I know of currently right now. And as you can see here when it comes down to Sculptor is that he does not give you any breathing room to attack him with the X button, which essentially is on the controller, to do basic attacks to build up mana. The main damage that you have is the signature spells or the spells in your character. Before I continue on with any more commentary, I'm going to show off Aries, one of the newer characters that was added to this update.
Hello, Kiran! My name's Aries. So glad you could join me.
What's the trick? Is this a trap?
It's not. I'm just doing what I was asked to do.
Ah, so we're still gonna fight, right? I'm fine with it.
Once that cutscene's over between you and Aries, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that they added into 1.0 before the end of the video. For example, mid-run saves. This might be the most requested feature from 18 months of early access. Every time the icon below appears, you can open up your options and safely quit to the main menu and resume later. That was one thing that people were wondering about, because when you would try to go into a run, you would have to either beat the run or lose the run, and then you were able to just quit out and then do what you had to do. Now, you can save mid-run and not have to worry about your save. The other thing was the stats window. It was not easy to know how your current build is impacting your base stats. Now you will be able to see that stats anytime when opening up your inventory or all the time by activating an option in the gameplay menu. So that was also a nice thing that they added with 1.0. The other thing was the prices for the peddlers. Now prices are much more varied and spells can have gambits on them, impacting their prices up to 2,000 quartz a spell. You can also find and buy astral gambits. They're making quartz currency much more interesting than it was, which was also annoying because when you try and use quartz and you had like 500 or 600, there wasn't a whole lot of variance to go with. But the other thing I want to show off with Aries is that you have to beat that like diamond shaped thing, and that will get closer to her before she unleashes a final like attack on you that will hurt quite a bit, which is that beam you see there. And I will say the last thing about the storytelling elements, narration has been extended and reworked a lot. There's a lot of changed dialogues and many new types of dialogues added. For example, you can now have self-conversations on benches and heroes to talk to each other. That being said, on closing thoughts and what I think about Astral Ascent, it's a great game. I've been around with it for about 4 or 5 years since they've been doing early access. I bought it for $25 when it was really early, when the FPS was so bad that you couldn't even load into the main menu, and if you changed a character, it took about 5 to 10 minutes. But it's a lot better now, and it's in 1.0 with full release stuff. So if you want to go ahead and give it a shot, it's on $25 for Steam. And I've been One Nut Punch and been another video. Thanks for watching as per usual, and I'll see y'all later in the next one.